Resilience and sustainability together really give community equity. Every act that we take as architects helps repair the earth.
Welcome to the Passive House podcast, brought to you by Passive House Accelerator, a catalyst for zero carbon building. For news, inspiration, and connections from all flavours of Passive House, check out passivehouseaccelerator.com. Sign up to receive regular updates about events, get your questions answered, and contribute to the community dialogue. There's loads of free information for experienced professionals and people just starting out on their Passive House journey. We hope to see you at one of our weekly Passive House Accelerator live webinars. In the meantime, here's this week's Passive House podcast. Welcome back to the Passive House podcast. I'm Matthew Cutler-Welsh, coming to you back in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, after a bit of a tiki tour around the place, including Melbourne, where I was at the Passive House conference over there. And I'm joined this week by Zach Semke. How are you going, Zach?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Matthew.
And also very pleased to welcome to the show Michael Ingui this week. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing really well, thank you.
And how are things in your part of the world?
Gorgeous. It's super hot here, but it's the season I love. So I think we hit almost 100 degrees on Wednesday, which was fun. But it's really nice. It's gorgeous, and finally no rain. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, well, I think we may have got a bit of that rain down in this hemisphere. So good times. Well, we've got a great show, and part of the reason why we've got you here this week, Michael, is because you've brought us a whole series of short excerpts from this year's Building of Excellence Awards. So I want to get into that and get a bit of background. But before we do, Zach, we've got a few people to thank for the Passive House podcast and the Accelerator.
We do indeed. So a big thank you to our stakeholder partner, NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. Thank you too to our founding sponsors, 475 High Performance Building Supply, Ingui Architecture, Hertel, Rockwell North America, and Zola Windows. And thank you to our champion sponsors, Bewizo, Cascadia Windows and Doors, European Architectural Supply, Facro, Icon Windows and Doors, Intelligent Membranes, LG Air Conditioning Technologies, and Source 2050. And a special thank you to Icon Windows for being our sponsor of the week and supporting all of our programming here at Passive House Accelerator.
Excellent. All right. Now, Michael, can you tell us what is the Buildings of Excellence program?
It is a really incredible program funded through NYSERDA that does a bunch of really interesting things. One is it provides funding to the actual projects that are part of the program, which really helps build them. One of our projects was around one award winner, and it really provides construction funding. You're getting funding because you're doing a passive house or similar. And in some cases, you've got people who might not have been able to afford to do that in the first place, or this is their first time, et cetera, et cetera. But the cool thing about it is to get that funding, you have to share how you're doing it, what you're using, what the solutions are, how it's going, and how people are living in it afterwards or residing in it afterwards. And it's huge. And you've really seen over the years, a lot of firms jump in, try to get it. A lot of developers jump in, try to get the funding. And a lot of really wonderful projects with fantastic solutions. You've got people who are doing large multifamilies, small retrofits, and everything in between. And it's a really cool program that I think is accelerating the adoption of passive house, low carbon building in New York pretty significantly.
Zach, you know a little bit about the program as well. Where is the funding from, and what's your take on the Building of Excellence?
Yeah, well, the funding comes from the New York State. It's from NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. And we'll include a link in the show notes to the Buildings of Excellence page on the NYSERDA website. But the way that NYSERDA describes it is that the Buildings of Excellence competition is an $83 million competition that's distributed monetary awards over 5 rounds so far. They just began the 6th round. The program was kicked off in early 2019 and recognizes and rewards the design, construction, and operation of resilient, climate-friendly multifamily buildings that are healthier for residents and their communities. There are two paths to participate in the BOE competition. One is demonstration projects, and two is early design support. And so there's details about both. And if you go to that website, you'll be able to see the BOE winners from round 5, and then also link to information about how to apply to the Buildings of Excellence round 6, which is now open, as I mentioned.
All right. Well, let's get into this round 5. Really great, Michael, that you got a chance to catch up with some of the people involved in this round and some of the winners. So let's roll the tape and have a listen.
Hi, I am Michael Ingui, and I had the pleasure of chatting with some of the Buildings of Excellence winners at the Round 5 award ceremony. Let's take a tour through some of the exciting projects recognized by NYSERDA's Buildings of Excellence program. First up is Kissena House, an ambitious all-electric infill project in Manhattan.
Thanks, Michael. I'm Sean Flynn from Curtis Ginsberg Architects. We're the architects of the building. So this is an 8-story infill building. It's actually taking up a large, very deep lot and actually sitting on top of a parking lot. So we have to remove a certain amount of parking spaces, but we have an 8-story building with 116 apartments. And it is going to be all electric. It's going to use ground source.
Cool.
It's going to have a large photovoltaic array on the roof, and we are also planning to clad it with prefabricated panels that will include, on the south-facing facades, photovoltaic panels. Well, I think the Buildings of Excellence Award has been enormously helpful to our firm as a whole. On this project, it's a design demonstration project award. The funding will come in during construction, and we are a long way from construction right now. We're still in design, but it will help us to offset the research and development costs that are involved in evolving this progressive thinking about the skin, about photovoltaics, about ground source. For me personally, it's my first ground source project, so that's very exciting. And those are enormous benefits that we realize. And of course, the money really goes to the development team.
It's really exciting also because that also allows everybody else to learn from everything. Maybe what I love about the Buildings of Excellence program is how much you're able to then share, and then people can learn from what you're doing.
From Manhattan to Buffalo, we moved to 1701 Hertel Ave, a pioneering mass timber passive house that's rallying a community and an industry around bold, sustainable design.
I'm Jacob Stiller. I'm with Forward Development, and
I'm Joshua Best with Line 42 Architecture.
Tell us about the project.
it's a 6-story mixed-use building constructed out of mass timber. I think it's one of the largest mass timber buildings in New York State. And it's passive house.
We want to respect the urban fabric of the current neighborhood and make sure that the neighbors would be pleased for it, and this would be a beacon for new development in Buffalo, which we desperately need. Upfront design costs are very significant, and it's almost a marketing for an architecture firm. So this program allowed me to kind of go above and beyond for my client to do something exciting and almost give back. And without this kind of push, I mean, this was a long shot, to be honest with you. We have no idea we were going to win. We were so blessed and shocked this happened. But without this little nudge of the hope of winning this award, those extra hours I put in, the extra rendering, the talking to consultants, a mass timber consultant, everyone had this energy to like, this is cool, let's do this. And it really brought everyone together, and they donated their time. And this is proof in the pudding that if you just put in a little bit of extra work up front, you could get these projects to pencil out.
Now we head to downtown Brooklyn, where historic preservation meets future-focused performance at 475 State Street, a mixed-use building that's setting new standards.
I'm Jeff Sullivan with Alloy Development. We're the architects and developers of 475 State Street.
And I'm Prudence Ferrero with Thornton Tomasetti. We're the passive house consultant on the project.
So the project is a second phase of a larger block redevelopment. It is a combination of adaptive reuse of some existing buildings from 1890, 1860s. We also included a tower that's a 470-foot tower that's going to be probably the tallest FIAS tower in the world, we hope. It is about 580 residential units, about 100,000 square feet of office, and then about 30,000 square feet of retail and mixed use at the ground floor in downtown Brooklyn.
And it looks great. I'm excited that it's a Building of Excellence award winner, because that means that it's giving you the avenue and the way to share it even more. It's an exciting project, and others can follow suit. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think the award was wonderful. It certainly helped in the process. We looked for, as developers and also architects, our mission statement is how to make Brooklyn beautiful, sustainable, and equitable. And for us to be able to achieve that and rely on things like the Building for Excellence to help support that, we also looked towards Prudence and her team, or even our contractors, to help us find the most cost-effective way to design and build. And so we looked at ways of honing in on the air source heat pumps. They're a little expensive out of the gate, and so how do we scale that and shave off those peak moments with maybe a more cost-effective electric resistant boiler for those few times of the year that you actually need it. Looking at things like our operating expense and how the reduction in that actually creates value, and we can actually turn that for our investors as an opportunity for future capital investment and get excited about those few added costs that go into the building.
Let's turn to Southeast Queens, where community impact and thoughtful design converge on West 110th Street, an award-winning project transforming a former correctional facility.
Hi, my name is Randall Powell. I'm the CEO of Infinite Horizons. We're an MBE certified affordable housing developer based out in Southeast Jamaica, Queens. Happy to be here.
I'm Van Tao. I'm the project manager and the senior associate for Curtis Ginsberg Architects.
Tell me a little bit more about the building.
Sure. So when we thought about the project, we thought about creating something that was going to really impact the community. You know, the Seneca site, former correctional facility was had various uses, and we wanted to actually improve upon it by making it something that looks great, has multiple uses, and actually fits the topography of the neighborhood. So yeah, we believe it actually encompasses all of that.
Oh, it does, yeah. Not a surprise that you guys were a winner. That's really great. And tell me a little bit about the performance of the building.
It is a very tiny site. It's very tall, right? And then so we think that the major impact is going to be on the building facade. The envelope design need to be very, very well, very sustainable in its own sense. So there's a lot of time going into the research on the materials to be used. There's a lot of time going into to really kind of dial the ratio of the fenestration and also the window performance, right? That we spend tremendous amount of time. It's a delicate balance, right? Because during the summertime, you sort of want to kind of block out as much of heat gain. In the wintertime, you want a little bit more heat gain. So it's really kind of like, so we work with Matt Grant, which is our sustainable consultant, to really kind of like delve into this kind of right balance and work with the vendors on that, right? And then the project is actually, it's only the south fronting and the north fronting facade. So in the north fronting facade, we push the window as close to the building facade. In the south, we kind of creating this sort of like articulating with the context window. We have this recessed design.
Maybe talk to us a little bit more about winning the award and how that affects the project.
Well, it's very inspirational. The Buildings of Excellence is, by far one of the most, sought after awards there is, in the nation. And the fact that we have, put together a great project with such a great dynamic team with L&M, Urbane, Lamore Realty Development, shows that we really kind of pushed the envelope in terms of how we look at the community, concepts, collaborations, joint ventures. And I think that's what kind of the Building of Excellence Award really represents.
Next, 77 William Street, a passive house in the historic district of Newburgh, New York, shows how affordable, supportive housing can honor the past while building a more sustainable future.
My name is Brian Tews. I work at Curtis Ginsberg Architects.
So tell me a little bit about the building.
So the building is a 5-story building in Newburgh, New York. It will be all supportive housing, affordable supportive housing. It is located in a historic district, the second largest historic district in New York State. It will be Passive House certified when it is completed.
Does the fact that you're in a historic district, does it pose any challenges? I'm sure it poses challenges. Talk to me about this.
Sure, it's one of the very first things that the project had to address was the process of being approved, not just by the city, but also by the State Historic Office of Preservation Office, and then also National Park Service, which is a process that took us, probably about a year, along with other planning boards and zoning board with the city of Newburgh. So how do you design a building in a historic district that is appropriate to that scale, yet meets that goal of creating additional affordable housing?
Over in the South Bronx, Powerhouse Apartments, a beautifully layered building, blends passive house design, geothermal energy, and intergenerational housing into one visionary development.
So my name is Ed Ettinger. I'm the managing principal of Ettinger Engineering Associates. We're an MEP sustainability civil low voltage field verification consultant right here in the heart of Midtown Manhattan. And we love projects that kind of live at the interface between sustainability and other traditional design disciplines.
Tell me more about the building itself.
351 Powers is an amazing project. It's 80 affordable housing units with supportive services below in the South Bronx in Mott Haven. I love this project because it kind of reminds me of like a perfect layer cake. We have intergenerational design in mind. So the unit mix first starts with a lot of 2 beds and 3 beds to make way for that, first of all, in a neighborhood that needs it. But we've really tried to channel resiliency even in the architectural design from the beginning. Every apartment has access to an outdoor terrace. We're Passive House certifying. So the terraces are very intelligently designed to serve as shades for the buildings in an optimal way. And not only that, the sliding doors that are access to the terrace are actually angled to also optimize solar incidence on the building.
It's smart, and also it's a great looking building, and I feel like that helps. That design element is both functional and looks good.
Right, that's exactly the way I feel about the kind of the layer cake aspect of the building. So to push further, the team has very readily embraced geothermal source heat pumps for both HVAC and domestic hot water systems. But with this kind of intergenerational affordable housing model, our team feels that cooling in a way should be a universal right. So we're going to pay for both heating and cooling. Within the city of New York, I have to applaud HPD, our local regulatory agency that supports and subsidizes affordable housing. They've created, I believe it might be first of a kind, a cooling utility allowance structure whereby if the developer pays for cooling, they can actually charge more in the rent roll. So this enables us to completely optimize the design of the HVAC system.
That's really exciting. So you're a Building of Excellence Award winner. Tell us what that means for the project.
We've really seen this as a warm hug from NYSERDA, really trying to support the industry financially on the early design support side to help nudge developers that may be less initiated towards decarbonization, resilient buildings.
Next, we visit a legacy co-op in the Bronx, where deep retrofit planning is honoring the past century while setting the stage for the next.
I'm Marianne Hyde. I'm a principal at ZH Architects.
I'm Avery Gray. I'm a project manager and sustainability director at ZH Architects.
Stash Zakshevsky, principal at ZH Architects.
So maybe tell me a little bit about the building itself.
It was one of the first limited equity co-ops, and there were garment workers who were down on the Lower East Side in very poor housing conditions, and they wanted more. So they pitched together money and bought a piece of land and started to build this complex of buildings. And so as these guys are about to do their 100th anniversary, they want to kind of reinvest the energy and forward thinking that the people did 100 years ago into making this a very energy efficient campus.
That's exciting. That's very cool. Tell us a little bit about the design of the building itself.
It's an interesting challenge and opportunity with an existing building. When you're building new, you can design whatever you need to, but it's a unique design challenge working with the existing envelope and negotiating how that balances with interior layouts and all the different considerations.
Yeah, so it's really important to try and save as many of the materials and structure of the building. So we're going to really look at, we have been looking at the materials that have been renovated. There's one or two components that are already there, like the roofing, and then everything else, how we can work with what's there rather than take it away and demolish it. Can we reuse part of it? Can we do all of that? And also to use materials that are as healthy as we can make them.
Well, it's pretty exciting that it's a Buildings of Excellence award winner, because that means it's giving you that venue to actually continue to show everybody how you're doing this.
BOE has really helped us navigate that, because a lot of times when buildings finish, it's like, oh my God, that's it. And there's more reason to keep going a little bit further. We all know that that takes time. Mm-hmm. And this allows us to have that time to analyze and look at things and then get it out there.
Finally, we zoom out with Ilya Azaroff, Buildings of Excellence juror and AIA National President-elect, to reflect on how this year's cohort signals a maturing moment in sustainable design and what's next for the profession.
Hi, I'm Ilya Azaroff, FAIA. I'm the president-elect for AIA National, and I'm the founding principal of Plus Lab Architect.
Tell me about this round. How is this round different from other rounds, if it was different?
I guess I've served as a juror for 4 of the 5 rounds, and I've seen the transformation over the years of the types of projects, the number of projects, and I think that what you're asking is a really important question, because this year we've seen perhaps a focus on this implementation and these new projects in a bit of a different way than in the past. It's almost as if the state is becoming much more mature in understanding what design excellence looks like. Not just in energy efficiency, but the social constructs that are tied to community, and then the beauty of these buildings as they come forward. So we're balancing aesthetics with performance and the service to society.
So important.
You can't get better than that.
It's so important.
And these projects always bring something new that I've never seen before, or a context that's different of how they apply new technologies, new ways of building, aligning with environmental concerns, or really looking at resilience in a new way. So it keeps me fresh, and it's helped me grow as an architect to have a greater understanding of what we must do to achieve design excellence.
Well, I have to ask you about the AIA itself. I mean,
Sure.
It's you're super busy, of course. What's in store for us?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So as my incoming presidency, there's a couple of things. We have 100,000 members in 120 countries. And we've been doing fairly well on sustainability. We're doing okay on resilience. And we need to marry those two things together to really two sides of the same coin. Resilience and sustainability together really give community equity. And what we're looking at next year is really to double down on disaster risk reduction, bringing resilience to that equal partner with sustainability and trying to get to a regenerative design process. Every act that we take as architects helps repair the earth. That's a tall order, but we have to set that horizon so that AIA and all of us who are working on it can share all of that knowledge and really get there.
And that was a great roundup of the round 5 this year's Buildings of Excellence. Some of the winners there. Michael, how did you get to be there to interview them?
It was in New York at the Center for Architecture, which is a wonderful space. I've seen so many different events at that space, and it's a wonderful place to have an awards program. We had the ability to both have the awards program there with NYSERDA, but also there was a space for us to mingle a little bit afterwards, meet the teams, and we were able to do these really cool interviews in a side space that was really convenient. It's a really wonderful space. They always have a lot of interesting presentations, as well as always a rotating show to see.
And what was your general feeling from this year's awards?
One of the things that's happening right now in the passive house and low carbon building community is really present in these award winners. You've got people who are seasoned passive house veterans now. And I feel like the NYSERDA Buildings of Excellence allowed this to happen over the years, where you've now got teams on their second and third and fourth buildings, as well as a whole bunch of new people as well. And they're perfecting these things. They're getting them closer and closer to cost neutral. They're including healthier materials. They're going beyond passive. It was really exciting. And I just think that's going to be able to be shared broadly, well beyond New York. Beautiful projects. I also feel like, especially in this round, the design of the buildings is also really nice. I feel like there's a bunch of really nice looking projects. A couple are true winners here. And I think it makes a big difference. I mean, as an architect and a designer, I take that super seriously. I think people who are living in these healthy and wonderful buildings also, they want to live in beautiful spaces. And some of them are just really, really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a big range. I mean, obviously a range of sizes and range of uses. Great to see some mixed use buildings in there with, covering residential as well as commercial and retail. But also looking, and we'll share some of these images as well, because you've got almost every single building type in there, different cladding, different styles. So it's really great to see that there is no building that you can just look at and say, oh, that's a passive house, because there's lots of design creativity there, and buildings that really fitting in with whatever constraints they have, including some of those heritage requirements, which is often a bit of a challenge, but when done well, looks really amazing. One of the things that I noticed this year there was a lot of talk about community, and I think in the summary at the end, the conversations you had was around incorporating sustainability with resilience, and the impact that has on community, particularly around equity. And I think that's really exciting in the state of the world and politics and this sort of division between the haves and I heard recently the have-yots. This drive towards more equity, I think, is so important, and this shows that architecture can be a pathway towards that. So this is really exciting. Particularly, some of those buildings were specifically oriented towards affordable housing, community housing, social housing, that sort of thing. And to be able to do passive house and beyond, as you mentioned, on buildings for that purpose, I think is just incredible, and just so many benefits to lots and lots of people. Zach, any main takeaways from you?
Well, just the resilience theme also really shone through for me. And I mean, I just think it's so top of mind for the passive house community and the broader architectural community. Clearly, Ilya Azaroff is sort of an important focus of his. I thought the one standout quote from the series of interviews came from Ed Edinger when he said that cooling should be a universal right. Which really resonated. That's it. I think all of us are becoming really cognizant of how critical cooling is, how important it is for us to avoid overheating and to figure out how to make our buildings passively resilient to heat waves, because those heat waves happen and they stress energy grids and are likely to create power outages. So we need to have ways of being able to weather those heat storms even when the power is out. And so really great that that is so front and center in a program like the Buildings of Excellence, which is, making such a big impact in terms of like creating examples and lighthouse projects that the rest of the country and the world really can look to for guidance and inspiration.
Yeah, and I really love that. My favorite quote was right at the end in your chat, Michael, when it was pointed out the mission really of regenerative design is to have every act that we take as architects help repair the earth, which I think is, it's pretty inspiring and a bit of a challenge as well for architects out there.
Yeah, just coming back to Buildings of Excellence and its effect, I remember the round one projects. I remember the other winners. I remember the conversations we were having with those projects. And there were lots of questions of, can you do this? Can we get it done? Is it possible? How are we going to do that? And the conversations, as you saw in the interviews, were nothing like that. Yeah, they already know how to do it. Now we're going further. Now we're looking at more. Now we're looking to perfect it. And it's amazing what programs like this can do. It's amazing what the community around us is doing. And I got to tell you, it was really inspiring.
Yeah. Great stuff. And as both of you mentioned, round 6 is now open. So this just rolls around again. Where do people go to find out more if they want to learn more about the Buildings of Excellence?
Yeah, go to the NYSERDA Buildings of Excellence page, and you can get the URL in the show notes, or just Google NYSERDA, NYSEERDA, Buildings of Excellence, and you'll find it there too. Awesome. And I should say also that the full awards ceremony, a recording of the full awards ceremony, as well as video of the full interviews that Michael had with each of these 8, and each of these 8 interviews are available on the Passive House Accelerator YouTube channel. So you can dive in and get more details and see images. We had the pleasure of co-producing the award ceremony with AIA New York for NYSERDA, which was a great honor, and we've been able to do that for a few years now, and it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. And speaking of YouTube and all other things Accelerator, Zach, what's going on out there at the moment?
So we just completed the season of Passive House Accelerator Live for 2024-25. That just closed up this past week with a great presentation by Ed May on modeling for resilience and performance. And so the action is at the Reimagine Buildings Collective. So we have a number of things going on there that's super exciting. One is that we are launching a new cohort of Ed May's Honeybee PH course. So this is a course that essentially teaches you how to energy model like Ed May does, drawing on a number of softwares: Rhino, Ladybug, Honeybee, and Honeybee PH. And it's it goes from soup to nuts on that, and you get to, I think, take in many 27 hours of fantastic instruction, as well as direct access to Ed live in a series of office hours throughout that cohort. So that launches on July 24th. We also are launching summer labs in the collective. So, and that begins July 15th, and you can join a small group of peers to gain clarity, connection, and momentum without overwhelming your summer. Each of these reimagined summer labs will tackle one real-world challenge in healthy climate-forward building. You'll meet 3 times over the summer, with time in between to reflect, share lessons, and grow stronger as a small cohort. These will be small groups of like 5 or 6. And then each group will co-create an insight brief, probably like a page of summaries, sharing takeaways with the wider collective, and potentially the full Passive House Accelerator live audience, actually. And I think we'll probably do that sometime in early fall. So great way to share your knowledge. Really, we're creating a think and do tank at the Reimagine Buildings Collective. And so these labs are a first really fun and important step in that, and a great way to connect with others. And then we have some awesome people joining us for our Ask Me Anythings, as well as and our Reimagine Tuesday interviews with Michael Ingui. So every Tuesday we do, Michael does a fireside chat with a luminary in this world of building decarbonization. So coming up are Jesse Thompson, a pioneer of passive house design in the Northeast, and Joe Steebrook, who a few of you may have heard of from the Building Science Corporation. We're really excited for that conversation between Michael and Joe, and Andrew Peel, a very well-known consultant and educator. These are opportunities not only to take into these conversations, but also to connect and ask questions directly of these folks. And, you know, it's a fairly small group setting inside the collective, so it's a really great way to connect with some amazing people. So if you're interested in any of that, highly recommend that you go to reimaginebuildings.com and check out the collective, and we would love to see you there. It's a great place.
Lots going on over summer. All right. Hey, Michael, great to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining us this week.
Thank you. This is fun.
And we'll be back again with another episode of the Passive House podcast next week.